Started here. We're going to get started. If everybody can take their seats, we will call to order our June 6th meeting of the Public Safety and Community Health Committee. And we're going to just jump right into it. First on our agenda is an update from our fire chief, Chief Schaefer.
We'll just back up and approve the minutes and we'll be good to go.
Oh, yeah, actually, we'll do that first. Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So move to approve minutes.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Okay, and so yeah, we'll turn it over to Chief Schaefer. He's online. Oh,
Good afternoon, Tom Williams here, covering for Chief Schaefer.
yeah, thanks for filling in. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. But it sounds like, was that a better volume?
You guys hear him okay?
We can hear.
Yeah, we can hear you okay.
Oh, okay. Hey, well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you today. Just a quick update for the fire department. We're working through the budget as well as with everybody else at this time, but this will be the third budget process that I've been through here with the city, and I'm happy to say that it's getting better as we continue to move forward. The Questica is definitely, I think, going to be a bonus for us here in the fire department anyway, moving forward. I'd like to give a quick shout out to Kevin Schmidt and Michelle Murray for all the assistance they've given us and our team in working through that process. Contrary to the weather outside, it is wildland season, and we start tomorrow a regional drill with our partners on wildland fire tactics being held in Fire District 9's area. We will be attending that, several of our crews and our command staff, so we're looking forward to doing that. Nationally, we're at a level 2, through a 1 up through 5 scale for fire danger, and currently we have one of our members that's on a fire in New Mexico as far as a incident management team. We continue to prepare for some of the large-scale city events going up, the fun stuff, the Hoop Fest, the Pride Parade, and some of those things that are taking some of our logistical and operational planning with an emphasis on some of the tragedy that's been going on through the country lately. We're really making sure that we're well prepared in our documents and training and planning for that. And finally, I'll leave you with some good news. This Friday, June 10th, we will have graduation of our current fire academy with 17 new members being added to the Spokane Fire Department. So kind of short, but if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that update. Any questions? I am not seeing any. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we've got our update from the police department, and Chief Meidl's not able to be here, but we have Assistant Chief Lundgren with us. And I had specifically asked Chief Lundgren if he could talk a little bit about responses to active shooter incidents at schools in particular, especially since we're still hearing lots of information about the response in Uvalde and where perhaps some of those responding officers may have broken down and where some of those just didn't respond quite well, to put it nicely. So I just wanted to hear from our department on how they would treat a similar situation and just give some reassurance to our community that we're well trained and well prepared.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Cathcart, and good afternoon, members of council, council president. An active shooter response for SPD is our very highest priority call for service. So what you're going to see if an active shooter were to happen here in our jurisdiction, you're going to see officers from the Spokane Police Department and the neighboring agencies all responding lights and siren as a priority response. And an active shooter response means that when officers arrive on scene, they're hearing gunfire at the time that they arrive. What our officers are trained to do is to quickly locate and stop that active shooter threat. Time is of the essence. Unlike most every other call for service that we respond to, these situations require that officers don't try to de-escalate, they don't try to negotiate, they don't use time to their advantage, which under most circumstances would be an advantage. They must immediately stop the threat that's posed to the community. The longer that the suspect is allowed, we know the more innocent people that are going to be harmed or potentially killed. So the presence of injured third parties when officers arrive on scene is another factor that we have to consider, even if the gunshots have ceased. If we have critically injured people inside, that adds to that urgency that we have to get inside, we have to intervene, and we have to make the area safe so that we can triage and evacuate folks. So the goal is to save lives and to secure the scene, allow for medical treatment and evacuation of the injured, and to rescue all those that are in the area. And I'd be happy to take any questions that you might have.
Councilman Wilkerson?
Cathcart, so speak to me about then what the partnership is with Spokane Public Schools, since I'm just trying to get in my mind, since we've heard myths, conflicting information about when the schools brought into the shooting down there at Robb Elementary. How does that communication flow, or is there any training that's held in partnership with Spokane Public Schools around active shooter situations?
So all of the information, let me back up. The most successful active shooter response is the shooter response that happens before the shooting event. So if there are pre-attack indicators, if we have a student or somebody who doesn't go to the school who is a threat, a viable threat to a school, we are reliant on community members, members of District 81, Meade School District, and all of our partners to get that information in a timely manner. That information is triaged. It allows us to follow up. The vast majority of threats are not ever going to materialize into a shooting, fortunately. But those that do, we want to be able to intervene. We want to be able to get to that student, to separate them from their capability, to assess whether they have the capability to carry out a shooting, and then to separate them from any weapons and create a happy resolution to that situation before it escalates into a shooting. And so we very much rely on all of our partners, including District 81.
Other questions? Chief, just, I guess the only question I would ask is, I mean, do you feel that our officers are as trained and as prepared as they could possibly be for any shooting incident at a school?
Yes, I do. Our officers are, they know what they're supposed to do. They have the equipment, they have the training, and I have the utmost confidence in their response to active shooting in the community, yes.
That's great. I appreciate you being here to share that. I don't know if you have any other updates to share on behalf of Chief Meidel or not.
I don't
Okay.
today.
I think at some point it might be beneficial to kind of, once all the facts are known about Uvalde and some of these other incidents, to maybe talk about them a little bit more in depth. But I think for now it's just helpful to get that reassurance from you guys.
President Biggs has-
Councilmember Cathcart.
President?
Yeah, I was just following up on the memorandum of understanding with the Native Project, and it looked like City Legal had some language that was helpful, and I didn't know if you were looped in on that email or it was just Chief Meidel.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to defer that topic till I can talk to Chief Meidel. There are some concerns with entering in, and I know we've talked about this before at Public Safety. There are a lot of different individual groups that the department interfaces with, and we want to have relationships with as many groups as possible. Having individual MOUs with each organization, we really have to be thoughtful if that's the best path forward. But like I said, I want to talk to more to the chief about Mary's email and her conclusion there.
Okay, great. Well, I look forward to hearing the report back. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to go back to schools because I know that there's been a lot of stuff going along with SPD and the schools, Spokane Public Schools. And during that going on, the schools claimed to City Council, the mayor, the administration, that SPD is not responding to some calls that the schools are making currently, and that officers have been told by SPD officers to not call the school or to call 911. So I don't know if you had an update because we never really got answers around that. And that's an issue that I know I'm a teacher. And when I read about that in the newspaper, a lot of teachers were concerned about that.
Well, I hate to speak to generalizations. I would be very surprised if a call came from a school and we didn't respond. I'd also be disappointed if that was the case. If you happen to have any specific details on those incidents, I'd be happy to look into them. But protection of our schools and any other vulnerable population in the community is one of our top priorities. So I would appreciate any information you might have.
I have one specific one, but we can talk about that. But just in general, I think it'd be helpful to get a report back about, what are our response times to our schools right now. I asked Chief Meidel about that a while ago and didn't get that information from him. So I think that'd be helpful for the community to know.
So if you have specific incidents, I can give you very specific answers to those incidents. In a general rule, like I said, we respond to the calls that come from the school, and they are a priority, particularly ones that involve violence.
So, but is it possible to just get a report of like, these are the calls and this is our time that we're responding to all of them? Is that something that's possible to get?
Can you?
And not just for like specific incident day, but just in the last 6 months, these are our calls to our schools.
Sort of an average
Yeah.
response time.
Yeah, I'll check with our crime analysis to find out the intricacies of being able to pull all those calls in. And here, let me give you an example of why that's hard. If somebody goes home from school and they call from their house and they say that earlier in the day this happened at school, that may or may not show up when we try to run a report for all the different addresses associated with the school, because that call might be listed as being associated with the home address rather than the school address, if that makes sense.
But I mean, I've heard like the school itself, administrators have called and nobody's come to the school.
And
So
like
those ones we could find out though.
Absolutely, and if you have specifics, I'd love to delve down on those specific calls. But I can look and see what our crime analysis has for data available to response to schools.
Well, thanks.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Next up, we've got fire settlement cost discussion from City Attorney Ormsby.
Thank you, Councilman Cathcart and other members of the council. We, as you know, are involved in 2 matters of litigation brought by members of the Spokane Fire Department. One is the Wise case. That involves 2 members of the fire department, along with a number of state employees that work for Washington State Patrol, the Department of Corrections, and DSHS. In that particular lawsuit, the city successfully moved about a month ago to dismiss that case. The city and the state moved successfully to dismiss that case. It was dismissed. We had hoped that that would be the end of it, and the plaintiffs in that case, which they have the right to do, have filed an appeal to the Ninth Circuit. So we need to respond to that case. We have used up all the budget authority in that case that we had. So we're asking to be able to amend 2 contracts. The first one would be in the Wise case in order to be able to handle the appeal. The second case is a separate case, and it's brought by 26 former employees in the fire department. Actually, some of them are still employees, seeking redress from the city. We are about to move to dismiss that case. In fact, it's been filed. It hasn't been argued yet, and we expect that case will probably be appealed as well. So we're asking to be able to amend that contract so that our attorneys can be prepared to respond to the appeals when they arise, so that we can continue to advance the city's position. So together, the 2 contract amendments equal $85,000, and that money would come out of the risk department.
So the city's going to motion to dismiss at appeals? Is that what you were saying?
Well, no, the one case we've already successfully gotten a motion to dismiss from Judge Rice in federal court. The second case we've also filed a motion to dismiss along with the state. In that case, that's not yet been argued.
Okay.
So it's not yet been determined. But we expect that even if we are successful, that the plaintiffs in that case would probably appeal that as well. So we just want to be prepared, since we were coming on one case to seek additional funds, to do it as well in the Bacon case, so that we're prepared on both fronts to pursue both of those cases going forward.
And what do you expect the timeline would be if it goes through the Court of Appeals for that to get sorted out?
I would say on the case that's already been sent to the Court of Appeals, timeline on that is probably 4 to 6 months. As you probably have gathered, as we've updated you on these cases, they first go to a panel of the court, which is 3 judges. So 3 of the 11 judges in the Ninth Circuit will hear the case first. And then the plaintiff would have the right to appeal that. So assume, and again, they have the right to do that, assuming that they exercise that, it could be the end of the year before that case is resolved. The Bacon case, the other one, it's not been decided yet because it hasn't been argued. So assume that a decision comes down in that case in the next 6 weeks to 2 months, then we're probably looking at the first quarter of 2023 before that case is resolved by the Court of Appeals. And then, of course, the losing party at the Ninth Circuit has the right to appeal to the United States Supreme Court.
Okay. Any questions? Okay.
Okay,
Thank you very much. Next up, let's see, we've got an SMC parking discussion. Justin Ray?
I have not used this Hanley, so I'm going to guess if I click over here, will I find the presentation? I can't hear. Oh, sorry.
Shay, are you able to help, or, oh, Hanley's can help, okay.
If I click here, will it open up the? Oh, yeah. And then last time, I squeezed in the microphone, and I can do it again. Or maybe I'll pull the mouse over. Yeah. All right, we'll see how close I can get. All right, thank you for having me today. We have a new permit system, and we realized when we were starting to do the permit system that we needed to make some changes. Last year in 2021, we made some SMC changes, and so the changes that we're proposing are just a few more and different from those changes. So, super high level, SMCs in general are arranged by title, chapter, and sections. We're only making changes at the section level. So there are 10 sections total. We're going to amend 4 sections, repeal 3 sections, and add 2 sections of code, and set an effective date. So we are going to combine permit types that have the same business rules, but a different name, and then make the permit definition clear for commercial loading zones and temporary no parking zones. So the first one is moving the temporary no parking zone to the definition section. So currently our temporary no parking zone, there's 2. There's an A and a B. And we felt that these 2 essentially fit better within the definition sections. So you can still enforce on the no parking zone, and that will stay in the enforcement section. However, the definition will include what it is. Section 2, commercial loading zone. We felt that the definition for commercial loading zone wasn't clear. So, we added language to that section so that it was clearer. Section 3 amends the temporary no parking zone and takes the section, the code that is striked through out, and so that is no longer in the code. So part of A and B will be gone. Section 4, permits generally, we are moving, previously we had outstanding citations for fines and fees, or for just citations, so we're going to change that to outstanding fees and fines, and doing away with the citation piece because it has to do with having fees and fines. And then also for the permit piece, adding under H5 a bit that if you don't follow the rules, essentially, you won't be able to get a permit in the future. Sections 5, 6, and 7, we are repealing. So we put in last year 3 permits: a service parking permit, entertainment event exemption permit, and a temporary no parking zone parking permit. And so we're repealing those and replacing them with others, which are, we're going to put in a parking space reservation permit. That permit is actually for a parking space reservation. So we discovered when we surveyed people on their use and how people use parking spaces, we want two things. Either we want them to reserve a parking space itself, or we want them to be able in advance, so creating a reservation, or we want them to be able to actually reserve it the day of need. So short-term basis, whenever you need a parking space reservation, you can make one, but that's the second permit.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Just a quick question. So when we're talking about this, so people will be able to do that by their phone?
yes.
Make that reservation? Okay.
Mhm. And Karen, we started piloting it already.
Okay.
So with a few groups. So when we took away the meter bags, we had placards in place already. And so when we took away the meter bags, we surveyed people's use. And so for a few specific groups, we created the temporary parking permit and TPP. And so they can pilot it and try it out. It's people who truly have an emergency need right now, so elevator companies or maybe electrical companies who it's not planned, they don't know before they need it, that they need it. And so they pull up the day of, they put in their license plate, it's good for the full day, and then they can move around to different zones. So, and then the reservation will be, you have to make it at least, right now, 72 hours in advance. Then we go out 24 hours in advance and put up a placard. It's all-day use, and then you pay for that space, plus the cost of lost paid parking revenue.
Okay.
How are you defining loss? Is it just an average of certain days or?
So for lost paid parking revenue, so the permit itself is one fee, which you can kind of see up here,
Yeah.
if you can see it in your notes too. So the permit itself is, for the temporary no parking permit, it's 15, and then for the parking space reservation, it's 25. And so then the lost revenue is $13.20 a day, which is our maximum for the 2 hours. And for the temporary parking, you can move around to different zones. It's still cheaper than a ticket. And, you can go wherever you want. And then for the parking space reservation, it's $13.20. Well, $13.20 for the 2-hour spaces. I want to say $8.80 for the 4-hour spaces and $4.40 for the all-day spaces.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the mix, if you can kind of see, so we did have the temporary no parking zone permit. So what we were doing was you could reserve the permit, and then on top of it, so that temporary no parking zone permit created the tow-away zone, basically. And then on top of it, you would actually have a permit for the temporary no parking zone or the entertainment event exemption permit. So instead of having multiple permits, we just are literally moving to, if you want a parking space reservation, this is your permit, or that day of use. And so the fee schedule, we're keeping everything pretty much the same, but we're changing a few things. So the commercial loading zone, we added vehicle to the verbiage. And so that first line, you can see it is per vehicle. So we're changing it just to say that on the fee schedule. And then same thing with single day, it's per vehicle. And then the downtown residential parking district permit, that's monthly. That one we're proposing to increase to $50 a vehicle. And so currently we charge $25, but we will increase it to $50, or we'd like to, and then have a low income permit still that's $25, so, and qualify people that way. The service permit, we're not going to use it. We have still the commercial loading zones, and then you can just pay for parking. And we also have a fleet option for that one. And then the entertainment one will just tie into the parking space reservation. Same thing with the special loading zone. That'll tie into the parking space reservation. Karen, go for it.
So I don't know if you remember this, but a few years back, we had issues with taxis and Uber and Lyft.
Yeah.
And I think what we did, if I remember, we made like loading zones or something available for both. So they could sit there and get rides and everything's okay. Is that going to change
Nope.
For
we'll s-
both? Okay.
We'll still have that. So
Okay.
there are still right now commercial loading zones and then loading zones and then taxi zones.
Okay. Thank you.
And then we will do away with the special loading zone permit after we transition, so over to the new ones, but we're going to leave that as an option as we transition. So we do have a daily, but that's it right now. And I think that's it. Any other questions?
Councilmember Cathcart?
Yeah.
Got one.
Okay.
It's a little bit from left field, but since I have you here.
Okay,
So
brilliant.
a few years ago, you came to us and begged us to give you the authority to raise meter rates so that you could manage parking demand. When there was no spaces, you would raise them. If there were a lot of spaces, you would do them. We did that, but I have not seen any evidence that you have been doing that. And I'm wondering what the plan is, because we've been told that there is a shortage of funds in the fund, and that would not only make sure that there were spaces available, which is our parking plan, but also get some more money in your fund. So what's the plan on that, roughly?
So I think we're still looking for consensus from administration. I know we have your permission, so just looking to find that consensus. And then for the demand-based parking, we won't start that until we have, devices across the city that are all capable of doing that, and LPR, which is coming. So yes, we would still like to raise rates. We just haven't done it yet. So hopefully maybe later this year. So.
When are the LPRs going to be deployed?
So July, the vehicles are coming, and I think we're hoping to have the equipment on them by August, mid-August. So then we'll go from there.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks for the update.
And when you say across the whole city, do you mean the downtown?
Yes, the paid
Okay.
parking zone.
Perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Thank you so much for the update on that. We'll move on to the Fire EMS Academy SBO from Paul and Josie. I think Paul's online.
Councilmember Cathcart, Chief Williams here again. I'd like to introduce to you and the rest of the committee our Deputy Chief of Training, Chief Rex Strickland, and he'll walk through this for you.
Excellent. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So we're asking for a total of $668,000 to facilitate the recruit school in August, starting August 22nd, for a 24-person recruit school. That includes $256,000 for wages and benefits to backfill 5 instructors for a 5-to-1 ratio per students, and then $412,000 for equipment and uniforms and PPE for each of the students, and that roughly comes out to about $17,000 per each student. We've not had that in the past, with the exception to 21-1 or 22-1, and we're asking for that total amount of $668,000. Any questions?
Yeah, you mentioned that part of this is backfilling 5 instructors, and so I assume those are folks that are being kind of pulled off the line to do this. So is that gonna, in your mind, is that gonna have an further impact on our overtime if we're gonna be down 5 additional folks?
Yes, sir. So in order to facilitate the recruit school, we do need to pull operations folks from the field in order to serve as instructors for the recruit school. It's a short-term impact, but a long-term benefit to the recruits.
And how long is the school?
16 weeks.
16. Okay. Thank you. Other questions?
Question. So I know that we had an attrition rate from the current class. So are you able to tell me what the current class actually costs for what it was actually budgeted for? Started out with 20 plus recruits and graduating 17. So how'd that kind of shake out?
Yeah, we're still waiting on the actual backfill numbers for the recruit school 22-1. I have asked accounting for those hard-coded numbers, and we've still not received those yet. But this is the last week. Those folks are graduating this week, and we should get a better idea here in the very near future.
And I'm sorry, the number that you just gave us, that is for how many recruits to fill this class?
24.
For 24.
24.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember.
Yes, go ahead.
So in the briefing paper, you have a couple of different sources listed for this SBO. So what funding source are you going to be using?
The
Councilmember Kinnear, I can jump in on some questions.
Hi, Paul. Thank you.
Sure. So I think we looked at a number of different options, including general fund unappropriated reserves or asking for additional ARPA dollars, but there's approximately $3.8 million in fund balance in the public safety personnel levy fund. So we identified that as the best source, I think, for this use.
Okay, thanks. That's what I was going to suggest as well. That would be a perfect fit. Thank you.
Okay, other questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, Chief, thanks so much for organizing. Now, at some point, we were talking about trying to do 3 academies this year. Are we still trying to do 3, or we're just doing 2?
Right now, we're poised for 2. We just interviewed 105 folks off of the candidate list. We were able to pull those 24. That's everyone that's on the list. Right now we're working on the 23-1 academy, and then changing the way that we are doing business with that particular academy by removing the EMT requirement. At this point, the number of candidates that we have is exceptionally low. And so we're not in a position at this point to be able to facilitate a 3rd recruit school in calendar year 22,
Okay.
unfortunately.
And that's because you don't have enough candidates that you think are qualified. Is that okay?
That's correct, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, other questions? Okay, thank you so much for the update on the academy there. We'll move on to public defender salary savings. Paul, is that you?
This one is me. Thank you very much, Chairman Cathcart. And good afternoon, City Council. This special budget ordinance is an intra-fund budget transfer within the general fund in the Public Defender's Office budget to move budgeted personnel salary savings to non-personnel expenses, which, due to a change in SMC approximately 2 years ago, is now through the SBO process. So by way of quick background, in May of 2022, Public Defender 2, Nicholas Antush, was promoted to the position of Public Defender. Due to hiring purposes and departmental policy, that PD2 is then downgraded to a Public Defender 1 for hiring. So there's some salary savings in the budget of approximately $27,000 in salary and benefits that the department would like to repurpose into contractual services and legal services to help out with some cases. And I think Nick is on the line if there's any specific questions about the use of the fund.
Nick, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So we previously approved some expert fees for really interesting investigation into a motion to dismiss a DUI based upon expired vials. The expert ended up costing more than I think it was anticipated. We have a couple more of those motions potentially coming. We may need additional expert testimony for the appeal process. What my idea was, if we could transfer the savings to give us some flexibility to be able to pursue the cases we need to, and we could even potentially use it for additional investigation. So that was our purpose behind that.
So, Nick, when you're dealing with a case like that and you're going to hire an expert witness, I mean, are there kind of guidelines, or is there any sort of sideboards around, well, how much you're able to pay and kind of what that looks like?
Yeah, well, there are set fees that experts have, and the ones we end up contacting have a lesser fee for public defense offices. One option we do have for certain cases is to ask the court to pay for an expert. If it's cases that are going to trial, I believe the court does have some obligation to pay expert fees, and we can petition the court. In this case, it was not a situation that was requested. We are looking at potentially an appeal process, which then means we may have to come up with these fees for ourselves. Plus, there's some other issues that are brewing that we may not be able to get the court funding to assist us with. And I just wanted to create that flexibility. I think we can use some of this for additional investigative services as well.
Okay, thank you. Other questions?
Just a quick question, and I can get back to budget. So in your current budget, then what has been allocated for those services? So there's an allocated
The
amount.
total amount, I'm not certain, but my understanding was when I made an initial inquiry that between the money already used and what was already set aside for investigative purposes, we didn't have any more left. That's why I was asking for that transfer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no other questions? Okay, thank you so much, Nick and Paul, for that. We will.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, we'll bring Chief Lundgren back up to talk about the abandoned vehicle SBO. Very excited about this.
Hello again. So this would be an SBO that would cover 2 positions and create an abandoned vehicle unit within the Spokane Police Department. It would consist of 2 civilian positions, and they would respond citywide, both north and south, to handle the abandoned vehicle responsibilities. Currently, parking enforcement has this responsibility in conjunction with the neighborhood resource officers, and we have not been able to effectively address with those current resources this issue and the scope of this issue. So with about $69,000 for the remainder of this year and approximately $140,000 per year, we'd be able to fund these 2 positions. The source of that funding would initially come from the Public Safety Personnel and Crime Reduction Fund, and then transition over to the Parking System Fund after the meter upgrade is complete and after there's capacity to absorb this responsibility. This isn't without precedent. We had an abandoned vehicle unit up until about mid-2017, and it transitioned down to parking services. And there are many operational reasons why there's an advantage to having these folks housed here at the police department. And I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Go ahead.
Do you know offhand if there's a backlog right now?
There is a backlog.
And so is there a plan to address that going forward, so then once you're caught up, you can keep caught up?
Yes, that's an excellent question. So with your support, if we move this unit forward, we will work in conjunction with the neighborhood resource officers to get ahead of the backlog that we have now. And we believe that these 2 positions, with the support of their supporting neighborhood resource officers and patrol, will be able to stay on top of the problem going forward.
Great, thank you.
Councilor Wilkerson?
Did not in the early spring, under city administrator, we allocated funding for increased abandoned vehicle support over a period of time, which I thought we had caught up, but we were unable to maintain being caught up with that? Or what was the status?
So we added additional funding. I believe it was approximately $70,000, and that went to fund the tow companies that came and removed the vehicles. This is a little bit different. This will be the staff that'll be responsible for coordinating, responding to neighborhood complaints of these abandoned vehicles. So 2 separate things, but both part of the solution.
So then the parallel funding for the tow companies, where will that appear? So we hire the people, but police isn't going to be towing cars, so we still got to have the contract with the tow companies going forward. So I just look forward to where that shows up in the budget process.
Okay.
I had an opportunity to do a ride-along probably 8 weeks ago now with Officer Detective Schwering. And, he really pointed out kind of some of the frustrations with the system as it exists right now, where, we have essentially code enforcement folks who don't have access to the same database who are doing this. And to me, one of the best benefits of having access to that database is the service aspect of this. And that is, just because there's, a car parked there with expired tabs, maybe very expired tabs, which is often an indication that it's abandoned, they can look it up, see who the owner is, see if it's at the right residence, and they can even go knock on the door, which he has done, to say, hey, you might want to, fix those tabs. And so it's actually a great service to community members in that regard. But he also showed me just how simple and quick the process can be. I mean, in 15, 20 minutes, the officer can show up and get the tow truck there and get it moved. And so if we just had 2 people who are just devoted to this, I think it's going to make a big difference and be real beneficial to the community that's really frustrated with the backlog.
Yeah, that is correct, and they will also have access to be able to determine whether the vehicle's stolen, whether it's a silver alert or an amber alert vehicle. There are a lot of different paths that it can take, whether it belongs in the neighborhood, as you noted, or whether it's someone else dumped it in a neighborhood that they don't have any connection to. So, yeah, it will definitely speed the processing and the customer service aspect of our response.
For sure.
I was just going to add one thing.
Go ahead.
I want to thank you for this. For those of you that don't know, we have been talking about this for quite a long time, and it's just now coming together. And thank you to City Administrator as well, because I think the neighbors are going to see a difference. The neighborhoods are going to see a difference. And a shout out to Tim Schwering, because that guy has towed more vehicles than anybody I've ever met in my life. And so it is very much appreciated. And I'm glad we're to this point that we can get those 2 positions back in SPD, because I think they can work faster and more efficiently. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
So a few years ago, when we took it away from SPD, we created positions in parking, I think.
Yes.
And so are those positions coming over to SPD, or is this going to be additional 2 positions plus the parking positions that we already created?
Yes, so this would be an additional 2 positions. The funding departed SPD when the positions left. My understanding is although due to some of these technology issues and not having access to the databases, the efficiency of the response isn't as good outside of the department, no fault of anybody. But those positions are currently are being utilized for other purposes as well by parking services.
Okay. And by the way, I like the model that you're proposing. It's just more of like, all right, we leveraged 2 new positions there and now 2 positions. But if I understand, at the end of this year, parking is going to pay for these positions even though they stay in SPD.
It's not necessarily at the end of this year. It's going to more coincide with the parking system or the parking
upgrades.
upgrade.
They
Yes.
should be able to handle both, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Once
then
the capacity is available.
I think the last conversation I remember was there were going to be 2 positions added to SPD, these 2 positions, and then code enforcement and parking they already have 2 positions budgeted for. So there'll be 2 in parking, code enforcement, and 2 in SPD. Is that right? Yeah? Okay.
Well,
Okay.
but no, that is my question. Are we going to have 4? We added 2 to parking. We're adding 2 more. So and I get that right now parking needs them because of what they're doing. But once we finish the parking infrastructure upgrade, are we going to not remove those people, but they'll do other things, but phase out those FTEs in parking so that we're not having.
Well, I think one wasn't filled. There was one that was vacant.
Johnny will clear up.
Johnny, do you have any clarification?
Johnny Perkins, City Administrator. So the clarification, thank you, Councilmember Stratton. Thank you for the question, Councilmember President Beggs. So the 2 parking code enforcement will remain in parking code enforcement. These 2 additional staff, SBOs for the police department, is to allow for the towing portion of this to occur. The 2 officials in parking do not have the ability to tow. And because we are now again backlogged in our ability to remove abandoned vehicles whose tags have expired, we need the ability to tow immediately to remove the presence in our neighborhoods that's causing some issues. And then on the towing, Councilmember Wilkerson, that money is allocated specifically for the towing companies to tow the vehicles, not for additional staffing. Yes, sir.
I guess my question, though, is we added 2 FTEs for the towing to parking. So are we going to reduce those FTEs, or are we going to redeploy them to something else? That's my question.
So those 2 FTEs will stay in those positions. They will continue to do the work of parking and code enforcement, and these 2 will be added to the police department so we can have the ability to tow vehicles more quickly, if that clarifies it for you.
It doesn't, because
Okay.
we added 2 new FTEs for towing into parking a few years before you came.
Right.
So if, we had our parking already set up, what we needed for enforcement, we added them just for towing because we removed police people. So,
So you're saying there should be 4?
Yes.
well, there should be 2. Right now we have 4.
Johnny, you're saying the 2 that we added can't tow?
As I understand, I'll have Chief Lundgren correct me. The 2 that are in parking do not have the ability to tow.
Correct. They
They
don't
can
have the
only
commission.
ticket because of the commission. Chief, please correct me. The staff for the police department will allow us to tow. That's part of the challenge. We're giving tickets and citations, and we're not able to tow, so vehicles are staying on the street much longer than they should. There's more mischief that's happening. There's more activity that's happening around those vehicles. These 2 staff will allow us to remove those vehicles as soon as they're cited if their tags are not registered, registration has expired.
So I wonder if we could just get a clarification of what the role of the 2 code enforcement parking officers will be going forward, and maybe that would help answer.
What I commit to do, Councilmember Cathcart, is present to this committee, all the council members, memo that provides exactly what the 2 current office parking staff is doing versus what the 2 staff we would add to the police department would do, and clarify the roles and the funding of each. If that sounds acceptable.
That's good. And I guess the question I want answered is, a few years ago, we moved funding from the police department, additional funding to parking, to do what the police employees were doing. And now I'm hearing they can't do it. So I'm wondering if we should give the money back to that's my question. I'm totally for the operational, but we went through this whole thing before to say, oh no, this is the new plan, and now it's like, well, that plan doesn't work. So,
not a good answer, Council President, but I'm not familiar with that, but I will be familiar with it and get you that information so it's very clear as to what your answer is.
Okay. All right. Other questions, anything? Okay. I think just so we can kind of clean up here, we'll take 2 out of order unless there's an objection. We'll jump to the eviction rent assistance program. Devin Biviano. I don't know if that's online or in the room.
Good afternoon, Councilmember Cathcart and Council. I'm Devin Bibiano, the Program Manager for COVID and Rental Assistance Programs in CHHS. And we have before you today a continuation of a topic that's been coming up off and on for 4 to 6 weeks. Special SBO was created by Jacob Miller earlier in May, and now we have worked with the CHHS Board's RFP committee to get the specific amount of funding to the ongoing providers, which you'll see in the briefing paper.
Okay. Is there any questions, follow-up?
just, Devin, thanks so much for your work on this. And I think it might have been in emails, but how soon will the portals reopen so people can start applying for rental assistance?
Yeah, that's the golden question. ASAP. The portal that most people refer to is directly tied to Live Stories. They're the ones that run that forward portal that they kind of put together for a lot of jurisdictions around the state. Less formally, Carl Maxey will then also have an application portal specific to their target population, and Family Promise the same. So the application system opening back up is going to look different from provider to provider, but the main portal that people are referring to, we're hoping to have open within the next 2 weeks. So my goal would be June 20th. Again, it's tough to make specific dates, and maybe I shouldn't say a specific date, but within the next 2 weeks is our hope in THHS to get these applications getting processed again.
Great. That's exactly, we won't hold you to it. I just wondered conceptually. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Perfect. Anything else?
So we're hoping to get, after today, to get a more formal vote on the contracts on the 13th.
Okay, perfect. If there's nothing else for Devin, is Jen here? Oh, Jen, you want to do the operational funding amendments? And I think Councilmember Bingle was the one who had asked to elevate this, and he's not here, but if you could just give us a quick overview, that'd be great.
And I actually uploaded a 3-slide deck.
It should be in the folder up there.
In the. Okay, thank you. I don't know how to find that.
Which one are we on?
The last one,
Okay.
and then we'll do all the shelter stuff.
Oh, perfect. Yep, that one.
Oh, I see, okay.
Great, there you go. Thank you. Okay, good afternoon. Thanks for having us today. So we received around $11 million in COVID assistance that went to a wide variety of services, including support of our existing shelter operations. We have multiple of these contracts that are set to expire 6/30 of 2022. Again, they primarily support our shelter operations. In the city of Spokane. And some of these funds were spent out on previous contracts and are not included in this gap estimate. So the total that we received through ESG COVID Commerce, ESG COVID HUD, and ESG CV HUD was $11,305,744.81. The reason why I want to bring that up is because obviously this was a huge infusion of cash into our system, and that allowed some providers who were already struggling to maintain operations to buoy those and to extend the number of beds that we have available. As that funding has waned, we've really seen that if we want to continue to have the same level of services and beds that we have available currently in our system, that we need to be able to extend those contracts. So these are a list of the funding requests, and you can see it by agency, amount, and then the impact if they're not funded. I won't read through all of that. I'll give you a chance to take a look at it, and then if you'd like to ask any questions, I'm glad to answer before going to the next slide.
Jen, just a quick question. So we have been talking about, and I think we've even passed either a resolution or ordinance talking about the public-facing database for shelter availability.
Yep.
Are we including in these contracts requirements that they do some sort of updates, if not real time, on that?
So we can as soon as that shelter database is up and available. But that's certainly something that we could write into the contract in advance of that becoming available.
I think that's been available for a year. So we've just been sitting around waiting for the contracts to come due so we could put it in the contract requirements.
So my understanding is that there is not currently, so we get emails daily, which we put into a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
But there is an additional public-facing shelter database where those folks put their information directly in, and that has not been launched yet.
Right, but we just have to click a button and start it. It's available, ready to go. It's just sitting there waiting for us to update those contracts.
I'm going to defer to Eric on that because he would have an update on how close it is to being able to be launched.
Good afternoon, Council. So we are in the final stages. We did have to go through and do some adjustments based on, I think, COVID and monitoring like isolation space in the shelters and do some of those improvements. And we're also trying to make it more of a regional flavor rather than just necessarily city-centric. So those things are basically in review now, and we're also trying to make sure we simplify the input piece for the shelter operators, because one of the feedbacks we've gotten from them when we went through the original beta test with them is to simplify the update process as much as we possibly can, so that it's more encouraging or more capable for them to get the updates in quickly in the evening before when that information really needs to be used, especially when we get into winter. So those are the final things that are happening now. We expect those to kind of be, I think, kind of completed here within the next 30 days.
Okay.
But that's where we're at.
So we could get that launched before Trent?
Yes.
So I thought some of the concern was the lack of the disparity in technology between our providers. And has that been addressed for the ones who don't have that technology to be able to participate in this as part of the contractual?
Thank you, Councilmember, for that. And the short answer is yes. What we're trying to do is make it ubiquitous so that they can do it on basically any smartphone, private or otherwise, which then would make it, again, a much quicker user experience for them.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
And I just wanted to add, yes, put it in the contract even if it's not ready to go. So that says when it's there.
1,000%, yes.
Yes, and I would like to mention that everyone, with the exception of Truth Ministries, is currently utilizing our HMIS system and recording that information in there. So we do have that in the interim. Thank you. Okay, do you have any questions about the impacts if not funded or the amounts that have been requested?
I just have a quick one. So under the Guardians providing 80 low-barrier beds, so are those that current beds at Cannon, not additional 80?
Not additional
Okay.
beds.
'Cause
Yes.
there's no room, right? I
No,
mean,
there's no
okay.
additional room. Yeah, so these are all current beds in our system.
Okay.
And these are the beds that would be eliminated if we declined to fund
Okay.
these organizations.
Perfect.
Yeah. So these are the funds that we've identified to support a 6-month extension. So the administration has been helpful in helping us identify some. We had some additional funds available in CDBG CV that were unspent. So we're going to apply that to the Guardians to kind of cover that cost. And then we also have the criminal justice funds, and then we have a 1,700 general REIT fund that we're going to tap as well that was already within CHHS to cover some of those costs.
And just confirming, for this year, we're not asking for ARPA funds for this. It's money that's already been budgeted.
So the criminal justice funds are not ARPA, and neither is the REIT or the CDBG CV. The ARPA funds, I believe, are being designated for something else. This extension is only for 6 months, and going into 2023, we would like to have the opportunity to continue some of these services by issuing an RFP that would take place in sometime in September, October-ish, and likely some of those funds may be ARPA funds.
So do we know any of these organizations, because we never had a guarantee or promise that the city would fund, do we know if they've been doing any work on their own to try and secure alternative funding, especially if the city, for whatever reason, decided not to pursue this?
That's a great question. So I think that all of these organizations look for other funding as they can, and we've been trying to spread information about funds that we know that exist. So there's the Emergency Food and Shelter Grant Program that the United Way currently has open applications for. I've distributed applications for that program to them. I don't have a detailed breakdown of other funds that they've applied for to date specifically to support this, but it's certainly something that we could request of them. Unfortunately, I think that this just highlights that we were already underfunded for a lot of these services, and we used COVID to fill that gap. And now as it's going away, we're really seeing that impact.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other question?
One question.
Yeah.
Do we have a requirement that people who receive funds make regular reports to the city?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Where are those made available? I don't think I've ever actually seen one.
So typically it's in our HMIS system. So we'd be able to pull data out of that, and certainly at a study session or independently, I'd be glad to walk you through what data we collect and how we report out on that, because I think it's really interesting to see what we collect and where that goes.
That'd be helpful.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So I just want to clarify, this meets all of the needs that were requested?
This meets all of the needs for the next 6 months. We do have Catholic Charities who has an additional 21 beds. We do have some unspent funds currently in one of the CV funds that we're thinking about allocating to that. They were not able to put their information in soon enough to have this meeting, so it would be at a secondary meeting. But it would come from existing funds that we already have.
Other questions before we move on? Okay. Is there anything else in your presentation?
No, that's all.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay. Now we'll move on to the lease agreement shelter discussion. City Administrator Perkins and Eric Finch.
Thank you, Councilmember Cathcart. Johnny Perkins, City Administrator. This is going to be a dual presentation as it relates to both the Trent lease as well as the Trent shelter provider selection. So we're going to do this in kind of 4 steps. One is just a brief overview of the mayor's vision for homeless under our Homeless Plan 2.0. I'm going to go right into the lease, the specifics. Mr. Finch will cover the RFP selection process and the recommended provider, and then we'll cover the financial piece of it as well. So I'm starting with Homeless Plan 2.0. Part of this presentation today is really to guide us through the vision, which was the regional framework of community expectations for behavior that builds from success with youth, families, men and women, veterans, among others. Very important vision statement from the mayor. The opportunity statement is a universally shared belief that sidewalks, alleyways, and other outdoor areas are not safe or healthy or humane. Number of organizations and entities have discussed this. Hello for Good, former Governor Christine Gregoire, among others, who have done reports at Continuum of Care and others that It's not healthy to have people living on sidewalks or alleyways or outdoors and not having the services that they need. The overarching strategy to really build trust among regional partners, but essentially build the trust, faith, and respect of those that are on our streets that are in need. Get individuals emergency housed as a transition strategy, very important underlying score there, transition strategy. Meet people where individualized services, where you can individualize those mental health, drug addiction, job training, and education opportunities. Coordinate supportive resources for everyone. Deploy caseworkers to meet people where they are physically and create more housing inventory. That's part of the overarching strategy. So here's where we go next as it relates to the Mayor's Homeless Plan 2.0 vision, which received a number of comments, thoughts, and inputs from many organizations. The one was to identify a dependable shelter location where we could actually house individuals, but also provide those services. Identify something that could be permanent as a low-barrier shelter where those wraparound services would be available. Establish a plan for improvements that are needed for the facility to make sure that it's amenable to those that would be staying overnight and seeking support. And also seek proposals, which is what Mr. Finch will cover, on who will actually run, operate, and manage that facility. So what's the plan for making this shelter a success? Thank you, Council. We've already started with your support of the interim zoning ordinance. That was the first step in changing that. Building the lease, which is what I'm going to go to here in 30 seconds, and where we are with the tenant improvements. Putting out an operator and services RFP, which Mr. Finch will discuss, which is inclusive of wraparound services, which are critical to the success of those who are looking for additional support and services. The completion of a site plan for the selected operator, and the budget review process, which just as important as everything else. We want you all to know, we want the taxpayers to know where those funds are coming from, how they're being used, and how they will be allocated. And Mr. Finch will cover that at the end. So, the lease. I want to thank my negotiating team. City Attorney Mike Ormsby, Deputy City Attorney James Richmond, Mr. Finch, Director of Neighborhood Housing and Human Services, Jeff Teal and Dave Steele from our Real Estate Assets group, and Doug Bird, who's an outside real estate broker, who's been very helpful in this process with his expertise in commercial real estate. The building address is 4320 East Trent Street. That was an unknown for a long time. The use of services, I'm going to outline the critical ones. To make sure there are services for those that are in need of treatment for drug addiction, those that are in need of counseling for mental health, those that want to be employable and have opportunities for job training, and those who want to take that next step to get some educational support, whether it be at a community college or a four-year university. Having those kinds of services at this facility is key and critical to our success. The bed capacity, minimum 150 to minimum 250. The operating hours will be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. However, there will be strict rules that will be negotiated with the operator that Mr. Finch will be discussing shortly that will require certain hours. There will be no departure from the facility in terms of people leaving. There's no reason for people to be walking around the streets in that area at certain times of the evening. The monthly rental installment, as negotiated, is $26,100 a month as the base rent. There'll be a security deposit of same $26,100. The negotiated lease term is 5 years. There is an option for 1 5-year term renewal of both parties. So that would take the annual cost of just the lease alone. The annual cost would be $313,000. If you took that $26,000 and you multiplied it by a year, that's about $313,000. When you look at what it would be for over 5 years, when you have the escalator, and I'm going to cover the escalator in a moment, it's approximately $1.6 million. And it's important to point out this. The private owner who has invested in this property has put in over $4 million. Part of that, a big chunk of that, was to purchase the property. The other part I'm going to cover here now is the tenant improvements. And I want to underscore, this is a public-private partnership. And I want to thank Larry Stone. I want to thank Hello for Good and a number of other leaders in the private sector here in Spokane who've gone to a great deal of effort to ensure that private dollars would be invested for the tenant improvements. Tenant improvements are divided into a number of areas. Tenant improvements have already started. Certain things are being done at the site now. For those of you that have been there, if you go in the administrative building, There used to be old kind of worn carpet. That's all been pulled out because there's going to be kind of a laminated floor that's placed there. So that process has started. Mr. Stone himself has graciously agreed to contribute $300,000 of those tenant improvements to get that process started. Other tenant improvements will include making sure that we have fire alarms, that we have carbon monoxide detectors, that we have an ADA ramp. Again, those of you that are on the property know we need an ADA ramp outside of the side of the facility of the building to allow for ingress and egress. And so that'll be part of the tenant improvements, which are an additional $250,000, which again has graciously and generously been agreed to be provided by the private sector. Lastly, I want to say about the tenant improvements, we're going to put up a cement wall with no barbed wire on the south and east side to allow for more safety for both those who are at the building and those businesses in the general area. That's part of the tenant improvements, as I mentioned, that have already begun. As it relates to the adjustment in rent will be through the Consumer Pricing Index, as all consumers in the United States, all urban consumers in the West region, and it'll be the CPI or an annual increase of 3%, whichever is greater. And right now, that's the terms that have been negotiated in the draft agreement. In terms of the option to extend, as I mentioned at the top, there is an option to extend for 5 years, should both parties decide that they wish to do that. We have to give about a 180-day notice, I believe, should we intend to use that option to extend. I want to close on the lease with this, and then turn this over to Mr. Finch. This has truly been an amazing effort by an amazing group of people here at the city. I mentioned our negotiating team. They've done a tremendous amount of work. I also want to thank you, council members, for giving us this opportunity to gain your trust, gain the faith in you to do this the way you would want taxpayer dollars protected. We've done that in this draft, and I want to thank the private sector for really stepping up and being a supportive sponsor and supportive entity to move this forward. So with that, I'll turn it over to Eric to talk about the shelter RFP, the finances as it relates to the Trent lease, and then we'll be more happy to answer all the questions you have for us. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Council. Eric Finch, the Interim Director for Neighborhood Housing and Human Services. And this is, in most ways, parallels what got sent to you earlier, but this was the members of the Independent Review Committee and the overview of the process. It was really meant to kind of make sure that we kind of did all the right steps to ensure a neutral review. Next slide. We started with a pass-fail, where ultimately a procurement looked at it to ensure from a standpoint of covering scope that they met I think basically the 3 or 4 criteria in terms of what needed to be provided at that location, and we had 2 rejected for not meeting that pass-fail criteria, and so they did not move forward in the process. And then there was 3 that passed, as you see noted there, which were basically the Guardians and the Salvation Army. This was the scoring rubric that we gave based on the questions and the responses from each of the groups and the final score. And the basic outcome of this was a pretty strong overall recommendation in terms of Guardians as the operations selector. Recommended for doing the operations. And on the services side, it was a little bit more of a challenge, because since they only had 1 that kind of met or went through the pass-fail criteria and was not covering of the entire scope of the services that were offered, they could not come to make a recommendation for that as the wraparound or the full services provider. So we'll cover options on that as we go next. So really that kind of makes us look specifically at the services piece in terms of what we need to do. And so we're kind of going through 3 options on that at the moment. One is to kind of activate the existing service providers we have now and extend services or contracts they have to be available at the site, because that's kind of the quickest that we can do, and make sure that that's ready and available as we would open this site, while we kind of do a more progressive model in terms of the specialty services.
Can you give us just an overview of what contracts we have for service providers right now? Because I'm
Yeah, so we have, organizations like, SNAP and Catholic Charities that do both coordinated, assessment, and they do some of the related case management activities. Each of the shelters does their own, pieces, that's usually included within, the existing contract scope, but potentially not to the degree or the scale that we potentially would like to do at the Trent facility. And so I think what the opportunity for us there would be, as we look at some of those service providers, can they extend and then for a certain number of days at that new facility, extend and provide that service on site? Because the key for us is really being able to provide that service on site. And to
But I guess my question is, do we have service providers doing healthcare, mental health, substance abuse that we're already paying for other places and just asking them to come, or do we not have contracts with them?
No, we don't have specifically contracts for most of those things you ticked off. It's generally usually for coordinated entry and case management. So I think that what we saw and the other feedback we got on the services piece is since there was a lot of specific service areas that were mentioned, a lot of them do one thing extremely well, but they don't necessarily do the breadth of them. And so that's why one of the reasons why we think we saw less respondents than we expected to get. And so I think in some ways extending the current ones is really kind of like a transition piece to get, I think, to what that kind of option 3 is, which is I think we go back out and we ask for multiple of those specially oriented services so they can be better represented there, and it will free an organization to just apply for one thing.
But my question is, it sounds like we don't have those services at the bottom that we're actually, so we can't extend those. I mean, I like your plan, don't get me wrong, but it's not like we're going to have mental health there because we don't have anyone doing that.
No, and that's why these are kind of seen as in parallel, not mutually exclusive. Because I think what we can do and what we do today through these service providers is mainly the case management piece and the coordinated entry. Okay. Getting those conversations going. The specific ones like behavioral health, no, that is something that has to be a new service.
Okay, great, thanks.
So are you going to do a new RFP then for each individual service?
Yeah, yes, that's the intention, to make it, so that they can apply for one specialty, which we think will free up people, because a couple of the ones that were non-conforming through this is they just applied for one thing, right? But they didn't have, the case management and some of the other, parts of it, as part of that. And so they kind of had to be failed, even though we saw ultimately the benefit of necessarily doing that kind of specialty. They can apply for one and do it well. So I think that's the direction we're going in parallel.
And do you think there's enough time to issue and receive those responses and get it going in time for the shelter to open?
I think that'll be dicey just in terms of the timing, but we would be trying to do it as quickly as we can. I think the interesting part of it is that, and I think this is kind of an important part of the case management and the person engagement piece, and realize again my massive 8 months of experience in this, is that there's time that you need to build the relationship, right, with the individuals, and there's kind of a trust-based process that has to happen with the population, and none of that is necessarily quick. And so I think that the emergency shelter piece is certainly meant to make sure that we get someone into that kind of supported environment, a roof over their heads, making sure that they're kind of their hierarchy of needs is kind of taken care of, so you can introduce those other pieces and get them into those other other services. So I think we have a little window here where we can make the timing work, but the intention is to make sure that those other specialty services are available as quickly as possible, because we know it's going to need that.
So what services would be available for sure day one? Because I certainly don't want to see a situation where we're just warehousing people. That's not helpful for anyone.
Yeah. No, I think, and I guess right now, I mean, each of the shelters, and this would be no different, still does the referral basis, right? Whether it be behavioral health, substance abuse, or otherwise. And so those things would still be able to occur, and that's usually a function of like the case management type and that engagement process. So those would be available immediately. I think we would be continuing down this option path to try to make sure the rest of those in a more detailed sense on site. And again, we would still be doing engagement with those even if they're not under contract now, right, to kind of facilitate that process so we can kind of get through that next RFP process as quickly as we could.
So I just want to piggyback Councilmember Cathcart. So have you had some anecdotal conversations with these entities that would be solicited to provide these services just so they have capacity It's a conversation you and I have had about, we just heard a presentation about we're doing gap funding to keep them open right now, and then we're going to be asking them to step in and provide additional service at this site based on what their abilities are. So the concept is good, and I agree with that. I'm just concerned, I don't want to set ourselves up for failure, like, we're going to ask them to come and participate, but they may say, you know what, that's a great idea, we can't do it. And so that's my biggest concern right now.
Yeah,
going forward.
and it is a real concern. So I think it's a great question and something we have to continue to work for. I mean, the discussions as you initially asked, yes, they have started. Let's realize that we just kind of came out of this like about Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday of last week, right? So we're introducing this information to you in real time. That said, as we've had conversations with some of these, they do have their own staffing concerns and they do have their own pieces. Now, one of the things in terms of the selected operator is that we did the subdivision between operator and services because we thought that would be the easier build, and some degrees it is. Well, the Guardians can provide some of those services, right? Because they provide it today, at Cannon, and so that would be obviously one of those conversations we'd have in terms of how we would extend into that. But again, I think some of these specialty areas like behavioral health and substance abuse, there's regional shortages, and challenges that we would have to continue to fight through.
Quick question. Speaking of Cannon Shelter, I'll just use that. Do we have any data on people who have received services at Cannon Shelter and how many have been lucky enough to walk out the door and have housing and be successful in that?
We do, because again, they also report to CMIS, and so I think as Jen mentioned, I think it might be, worth it in a study session sense where we could look at a couple of these reports, if you will, or the data sets, and then be able to ask, some of those questions in more detail. They also usually submit a narrative, right, that kind of, hey, we moved so many to this and so many to that, and we treated so many, so they have some of that information that we can share as well.
Perfect, thanks.
You have more?
Yes.
Okay, because I've
So-
got a
so-
dozen questions, but I'm going to wait till you're finished.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember. So I think we've had a number of requests just to kind of look at the total cost as it relates to this Trent facility spread over the 5-year period. And so this was kind of our best estimate at this point in time. And again, this is available for you. We just didn't have a chance to send it to you on Friday. But this kind of has the lease cost, the taxes, the expenses. Some of them will be borne by the vendor or the operator of the site, and then our best guess at utilities. Now, sadly, the utility cost is kind of listed as what we think is going to be much higher because it was under industrial use, where they were doing quite a few things with machinery or otherwise that in some ways was electrical powered. So we believe that's kind of a little bit of a high artifact based on that manufacturing use or semi-manufacturing use that they had before, and do not think it's going to be that high, but we kind of had to start with the numbers we had. So this kind of gives an idea that, in an overall sense, when we talk about that, kind of lease versus buy piece, I think the overall, aspect for this gets us to that $1.6, $1.8 million over the 5-year period, versus potentially the over $4 million of total investment.
Can you explain to me what the management fee is and why that goes up? Does that go up every year, right? It increases every year?
So the management fee is not it's something a little bit unusual, but it's in a lot of commercial contracts. That's for management of the overall contract, for the overall lease. They wanted to 6% was the initial amount in the contract. We came back with 2, and we went right square down the middle at 4, which is where the 4%.
But what do they actually do for that? Mr.
I'm
Byrd,
going to have Mr. Byrd, who's my commercial real estate expert, can.
he looks like a reluctant person here. Oh, okay.
Oh, he's freezing.
Chilly. Yes, how much? Thank you. What was your question?
So the management fee.
4% management.
And
When
what do you do for, how do you justify that? Not
Correct.
you, but how does the owner justify that management fee?
collect the check, make sure the taxes and insurance is paid,
So-
and also all the other management of the building.
Okay, don't
is
we
what's in there.
do that? I guess I'm confused. Don't we, as the the person leasing the building do some of
Yes.
that?
Normal function.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
In this lease, we are responsible for all that. They're there to verify that it's been done.
Okay, so it's about $1,000, give or take, a month? Okay.
That's about right.
Yeah.
Correct. Right.
There was quite a bit of dialogue on that, and we did end up at 4%.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So the parts I just wanted to end with, as you see kind of the notes to the right, you know, and I think there's going to be a beneficial study session that we can go through, I think, on the overall, I think, budget piece as it relates to future years, because where I think that we have the, you know, the budget capability for this year. I think, you know, at least inclusive of the $3.5 million ARPA, you know, at least allocation that has been made, we see getting through 2023 with the expanded level of services, not just the shelter, but the other, you know, without cutting in other areas or other beds or shelters that we have. But then it becomes a little bit more of a challenge, you know, after ARPA and after the Criminal Justice Fund is exhausted. So I think that's going to be worthy of some long-term discussion, because I'm still concerned about the 2-year out or the 3-year out, you know, sustainability of the overall fund.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Councilman.
So you just said we have 3.5 million in ARPA funds, and he bought the building for 3.5 million?
Right, plus
Is there-
costs and fees, yes.
Okay.
And then the $700,000 or whatever, total tenant improvements that are going to be done.
Okay, I just was wondering why we just didn't think about buying the building.
Well, it's still, I mean, what we're paying over 5 years is still significantly less, for one. I think the second piece is, and again, you know, this is the best evolving lens that we can apply to this. This was seen necessarily as an you know, an interim but multi-year solution. It wasn't necessarily seen as, you know, the long-term solution for our emergency sheltering needs. So I think that usually until you kind of are sure of that, you don't make the purchase, you usually lease. So it started that simply.
Go ahead. So as we've just started having discussions with Commerce and new money that's coming down the pike that will be available to address some of these issues, where is the out clause if we should get a windfall from heaven at year 3? How can we move on from this without being locked in? We got an extension clause, that's great too, but how do we get out of it if financial situation should change?
So there's a right to terminate. It's a 60-day notice, but then there's also built in there that it's a 1-year lease payment should the term end before the 5 years. So that would be 313 today plus the escalators at wherever we are at that time. Just to highlight what Mr. Finch was saying, the reason purchase versus leasing, at the time, based on our calculations, we felt leasing was a better route financially, because if you look at potentially what the lease could be over a 2 or 5 year term, a monthly rate versus some of the potential cost, it's going to be less than the purchase of the building. Remember, the lease payment is $313,000. With escalators, it's 1.6 over the 5 years. All of the other costs that are in this slide here in this chart, outside the rental for the lease, we would have to pay for anyway, even if we owned the property. So it's something we would have to pay for. So that was the reasoning as to why we decided the best option was to lease as opposed to purchase. And one last thing, Councilman Wilkerson, August 1st is the commencement date. We have been, it's been conveyed to us that tenant improvements can be completed by then, and we should be in a position, give or take maybe a few days, to move in by August 1 with all the necessary steps that need to be taken between now and then.
Thank you. Well, I just want,
Go ahead.
calling me, I'm willing to. So we got the first kind of stat sheet that was floating around when we first went through the building. I know a lot has changed, and it was suggested rent would be $20,000 a month, and then after all the negotiations, we came to 26. So I know, I'm sure there's lots of discussions behind that, but you know, once it's in writing, it's in writing, so it's out there now. So we'll just want to hear more about that gap of the initial, what was proposed, and then what has come to us with the lease as presented?
The
You don't have-
19, I can explain that right now because I've been involved in this since January, so I probably know more about this than I ever hoped to know. The 1920K in your flyer there, Councilmember Wilkerson, is from the previous owner. It's not from the current owner, Mr. Stone. It's from the previous owner. There's been a lot of confusion. I've had a lot of emails from council offices about this, so I want to make sure I clear what the facts are. And Mr. Byrd can probably restate this because he has been involved in this as long as I have on this front. 1920K was the former owner of the building. We were looking to do just a 15-month lease. He was insistent on a 5-year and was going to raise the rent. So this became very troublesome and complicated. Then it turns into the current owner, Mr. Stone, who went out and purchased the building. His initial flyer, I believe, was 28K or 27,900, so I'm just going to call it 28. It then went to this discussion about if tenant improvements were included, that it was going to go to 33 or 34K a month for the rent. That's when the conversation started and the public-private partnership really started to evolve, and the private sector, with Mr. Stone, Hello for Good, and others, stepped forward to pay those tenant improvements, which is why it's at 26.1. So again, Mr. Stone was at 28.7, I believe, or 27.9, 28K. We negotiated the 27.1. And I'll close with this. There is another offer on this building for the same lease rate we would pay with no requirements to do tenant improvements, take as is. So commercial property, and Mr. Byrd can speak to this, is hot right now, and people want that building. There's one offer specifically, I've seen it. It's the same monthly rent we are going to pay should you all consider and support this lease.
So my question about that interchange, though, we got this flyer after Mr. Stone owned the building in April on a tour led by his representatives. So it seems like they were using that flyer, and then we said, okay, this seems like a good deal. Then we announced that we were, the administration and council, we were supportive, and then the price went up. So that's the piece that's I'm still confused about.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's as simple as, and I think you've all heard some version of this, the acquisition process between owners was, I think, a lot longer and more complicated than I think anyone expected it to be. So, I think at the time when we started doing tours, the only information we had, the only documentation we had was the in terms of the brochure that had the floor plan, and the rest of the things was that's all we had.
So let me. It was inadvertently left in the packet, Council President Beggs. That's what happened. The 20,000 from the previous owner was inadvertently left in the packet that some of the council members got on their tour. That was from the former owner who had a different agent. Mr. Byrd was involved with us from the beginning. We did have that initially, but then once Mr. Stone purchased the building, the price was different, and the 20,000 was no longer a discussion point for lease negotiations. So we will own if that was a mistake on our part for leaving that in the initial flyer. Then
It
we'll
didn't
accept
come
that.
from you. It came from the real estate people.
Cor-
So
cor-
I
cor-
don't
correct.
think it's your fault. But
Right.
when an agent for an owner gives you something in writing,
Right.
you can usually rely on it.
Yeah. Thank you.
I just want to point out my quick calculations from that. Did Larry Stone explain why his price went up so much higher? Because my quick calculations from that number to 5 years of the lease plus the management fee means that he'll be making about $475,000 off of our rent there, just in the lease difference price plus the management fee.
Well, and we can look into the details, council member. I think one thing I can say is that ultimately, when it does go through an acquisition stage, the cost structure, the tax structure, and a lot of things change, right? In terms of what the basis for cost is. The other part of it is that there was an existing lessee that was trying to vacate the space, and we were trying to kind of occupy it for that final part of their term. So I at least in one of the, and I'm not a real estate expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I think that at some point trying to cover that kind of gap cost while to close out an existing lease is probably based on whatever that lease cost was from how many ever years ago that got created. So I think those are all factors that would need to be considered in that.
So under the previous owner, when we were looking at the 15-month lease, what was it that they were coming back with that was, it sounds like it was above that 19,000 number. So what were they coming back with that they were going to charge us?
They wanted us, first of all, a 5-year lease with no out. They wanted us to be locked in for 5 years around $25K. And at that time, I was not going to go down the road of being locked into a lease for 5 years if after 2 or 3 years we needed to pull out of it. But they were adamant. And then, as Mr. Finch just mentioned, and then all of a sudden we were caught up. We didn't realize that the former tenant still had lease time on their former agreement. And so that was what should have been a very, none of these transactions are easy or simple. I think Mr. Byrd would tell you that. But what should have been a seamless transaction became very complicated, very burdensome. And we got ourselves caught in this former tenant and former owner in a fight over the property and who owed whom to whom.
Other questions?
Hold on, I got a formal thought.
Okay. Any others?
Is
Is there more to the presentation first?
No.
Okay.
Just wrap up.
Go ahead.
I just want to follow up on Zach, his question, because doing the math, it looks like for the basic rent, it looks like it's about 72 cents a square foot. So what I'm interested in is what is the market rate for warehouse space in Spokane? Is that about right? About right? Okay, thank you.
And previously, I will tell you, there was discussions and negotiations where there was talk of 94 cents a square foot. And because we have the best one of the best commercial real estate brokers in the city, was able to walk us through, no, it shouldn't be 94. This is what the market rate is for said property. And then also talking to other experts in the commercial industry here in town who were able also to confirm that is the going rate.
Thank you.
Well, I'll say he is the best, so I'll let you have that one. Well earned. I just want to say that thank Mr. Stone for buying the building because it gave us the time to kind of figure this out. And we're just having these money questions. And none of us, as a small business owner, I don't have any issues with people making money. That's kind of what we're in the business of doing. I think the pushback is we know we have limited taxpayer dollars that we have to be accountable for, not only just for certain parts of the city, but for all of the city and all the citizens, and how that will impact them in their tax base and other things that have to be funded to make this city run. So for all those who are listening, it's not a no, but there are questions on top of questions because we're talking real money here. And we're not just talking it for 1 year. And we're talking gap funding, and now we're talking 5-year funding. And really there is no well, and there's no printing press, although Councilmember Kinnear says she has one, and she's going to go to jail. But because she says she's got one, so I want to see that money. So I just want to put that out there for everyone who's listening. It's like there will be some tough decisions financially that just have to be made, and we just all need to be aware that they have to be made. And it's not against or for, they just have to be made. So I just want to leave with that as Finance Chair.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So this is for Eric, I think, or maybe Jen. When you're selecting a provider, what are the criteria? So in other words, are you saying we plan to have 250 people? Or what's the benchmark for them staffing up so they're not overstaffing or understaffing? Because either way, there could be issues.
Correct. And so I think that, and Council President has already, asked some questions, and I think that there's information that we can share probably in executive session as it relates to the proposals, because it's not public until we kind of get through the procurement process and the award. But, they've each talked about in their proposals, how their ratio works, right? Their staffing ratio, how they would kind of, look at the space. And those are things that were kind of taken on board by the RFP committee when they looked at it. And so I can say specifically now, as we kind of look to come through this with the Guardians, they are looking at separation and kind of that hard wall separation between some of the sections, right, to kind of subdivide that area, and how they would kind of staff appropriately for those in terms of the ratios, and all the ones that submitted did some version of that same thing. So I think that they. I cannot remember the ratio over my head, but I can certainly probably get that level of detailed information for you.
And I think, too, we have to remember that, Mr. Perkins, we talked about this. This isn't just for people experiencing homelessness. It could be a warming center. It could be a cooling center. Right. It could be smoke abatement center. So it has to accommodate that overflow. And so whoever we have needs to have that capability of being able to staff up fairly quickly.
Yeah, and that was built in the proposal, and their ability to scale, right, and what that would look like, and how much time they would need, and what the cost escalation would be, in terms, because obviously there's a difference in terms of ratio or staff cost if there's 150 people there versus 250 people, because again, several lenses we wanted to apply to this. We also, to add to your list, like day space, right, just in terms of even without the environmental condition per se. So all those things kind of need to take into account. We want to be able to have the system be able to expand and contract. Winter certainly teaches us, right, that there's going to be, I think the highest number, right, that we're potentially going to be able to look at. And we want to make sure we can scale to that as well.
Go ahead. Quick question. I know that just from a letter and also a phone call I got from the railroad, that there was some concern about public safety with that railroad in back. Have we resolved that with the railroad? And then I was also curious about the community colleges. I know that there was a meeting and they were wanting to be kind of involved. So I just wanted an update on those.
So I did meet with Burlington Northern Santa Fe, and I shared the plan, including the wall that will be the cement structure that will be on the east side, which will ultimately protect the rail yard from anyone coming from that way through the site onto the railroad. So they were very pleased to hear that. I'm giving them another update this week in terms of where we stand, but they were very pleased with the update. They were very pleased with the plan for security, for safety, both on the shelter, outside the shelter, both with private security and SPD, as well as community college. In fact, with community college, the plan is to get some of their thoughts about some of the things that they would like to see addressed security-wise, and we're still waiting for that document, so we will reach out to them to get that. But also, under the job training, one of the things we want to do, I mentioned it before, in education, as a community college product myself, very high in the community college, love to have a number of individuals who will be in the building, have a partnership with Spokane Community College to start their education or complete their education. So that's one of the goals. The second is there's a welding school a couple blocks over. Love to have the welding school train some of the folks that are in the building to be welders, to launch their career as a welder. So those are the types of education job training programs that we want to continue to advocate with those in the community.
Just to piggyback on what Councilwoman Kinnear said about other uses, smoke, heat, cold, I would love to see us kind of do a wholesale review of obviously city-owned sheltering assets, the two that we have, but then also all the different providers, and see if we can find a way to work together for highest and best uses of all these different sheltering sites, especially if we can start seeing a decline in numbers and we could sort of reevaluate and say, okay, well, Cannon's best use is for this population and doing it, in this way. The Trent side is best for these uses. Maybe, Truth Ministries takes on a certain aspect, Catholic Charities. I think kind of a wholesale review of all of that, getting them under kind of an umbrella where we can be working together better would be, I think, a really great way to move forward.
Yeah, and that's a great comment. And to a degree, some of those conversations are started. And even with the operator selection that's recommended, that gives us an immediate opportunity to look, between, I think Cannon and, because in some ways when we talk about separation or how do we categorize and which potentially one has the best ADA capability, what allows us to do potentially is also make an incremental, a decision that's better for whomever we have at Cannon as well as whomever we have at Trent, and make the situation better for both.
Yeah.
So those are things that we're also taking on board. So that's really what the meat and potatoes of the next 2 weeks. And putting in questions, I just want to summarize on what's coming next, right? Because I think that, as I've been trying to brief since the beginning part of this, is that this is a stack, and we're trying to pull a lot of levers at the same time. But they're all potentially ready or fully baked at different times. But just to kind of, we continue to look obviously at the specialty services pieces, so we can, bring you that final answer. The ones in bold we spoke to today, but that kind of neighborhood and business impact mitigation fund or that process or program, how would that look? And we are going to have, I think, ongoing conversations on that, so we can kind of, help in terms of mitigate any type of second, third order effects. The ordinance piece that's under review with you as it relates to, how we could use that to help people get into that better or right path. Coordinated outreach that would happen basically on the ground with that, now contracted operator, so that ultimately that 30 days, beforehand, right, that we can get them out and engaged with the population to help get, I think, people ready and get that engagement piece in place. And then finally, ultimately, how does that all mature into, I think that one budget package that we owe you.
I have one more question. I'm sorry.
Nope, go right ahead. We just got about 3 minutes till we have to hard stop, but please.
I'm holding on to a MOU that the Chief Gary Neighborhood Council put together that they are expecting be signed by a representative of the city, the operator, the Chief Gary Neighborhood Council, and the East Trent businesses. How is that moving along, and are they going to get this signed so they will feel like they had a good part of the process? And
We have been very much engaged with the Chief Gary Park Neighborhood Council, the Trent business owners. In fact, we had a meeting here last Friday, June 3rd, here in this chambers with area business owners near and around the Trent facility. The MOU, Councilmember Stratton, that you're referencing is now in the hands of the city attorney's office for review, comment, input. They've sent me some emails today already with some of their thoughts and suggestions, and we're sending it to other departments, divisions to get their thoughts, because some of them could be impacted, and we want to know what their thoughts are. But we are taking that very seriously. Our intent is to execute, if not that MOU, something very similar to it, once legal has had time to review, and we can come back and present that to you with our final thoughts.
One final thought. Councilmember Zappone, Cathcart, and myself are working with a group, again, trying to get a good neighbor agreement. So if we can get that written up and agreed upon and looks like something that would work, we could still present that and say this is our good neighbor agreement that we would like followed by the same group.
It's very similar to the document I think you're holding on the MOU, but we would be very much interested in that as well, and would engage the city attorney's office to make sure that's form and content as well. If I could just close, Councilmember Cathcart.
Yep.
Thank you for the opportunity to present this for discussion. We would like to ask that potentially these items, the lease and the shelter operator, come back at advanced briefing a week from today, June 13, and then to this body, council members, on Monday, June 20, for consideration as it relates to moving both of those items forward.
Did you have one last question?
Yeah, quick. Did you, I might have missed it, talk anything about bathrooms and showers?
So thank you for that question. So, phase one is all the things we need to do before we can occupy, and that did not include internal restrooms. And so it would still be porta potties, and we have the city's owned shower trailer that would be serviced outside and available. The phase two piece of this, which is kind of like a by wintertime thing, would be interior bathrooms and showers and laundry.
And any idea of a cost for that?
Not yet. We need to put phase one to bed. We have people, including facilities and the construction company, looking at estimates for that now.
I mean, if it's another $1 million, that's important to know before we get locked into something.
It is. We're also going to try to leverage some, I guess, Perkins magic in terms of how we can potentially get some alternate funding for that as well.
And shower trailers for how many people?
The shower trailer has four spaces, and so it would be a little bit tight depending on the number of people we have. But the other opportunity, and this was put in the proposal, at least of the recommended operator, since they also have facilities at Cannon and transportation assets that they can shuttle people for laundry, showers. That's part of their plan.
All right, so potentially 250 people, 4 showers. Any update? I said I was going to ask about the full picture, right? We know $2.4 million for 6 months of GAP funding. So that's ongoing costs that potentially would be the next year. $313,000 a year for this. Did we say an amount for the operator yet of how much that would cost to operate? The tent shelter?
I think it's in the briefing paper, I think it's 3.7 annualized
Okay.
with all the services.
So anything else about permanent supportive housing that the state could be funding?
Yeah,
Do we have
so there's a big budget, and that's one of the items
Oh.
I have on my list. I think we need to have an overall budget conversation because there is an awful lot of items out there, and we have 3 different cycles. We have the federal cycle in terms of what their calendar governs. We have the state cycle, and then we have our local one. And what we are going to try to do is get all our local ones on under kind of one kind of RFP cycle, if you will, as best we can. But I think that what we need to do, and this gets back to also the metrics and the performance piece, how do we bring you back all that information basically in one pane of glass, so to speak, so that we can make decisions and we can see what things are working, as good as we would want versus maybe need improvement, so it can be subject to that funding review.
Yeah. All right. So Councilmember Wilkerson pointed out $700,000, so about $1 million for the Trenton shelter between the lease and the operator, not including services, not wraparound services, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, just some of the basic services.
All right. And then House of Charity 2, still this big question mark out there too. So I'm definitely looking forward
Yes.
to an update.
So if we just talked about earlier about adding, I think it's 1.2 million to add to keep 80 beds going at Cannon. So I guess I'd be interested to see kind of how this would compare, because I know the way Cannon is built out, it's tougher, I think more expensive to actually operate than perhaps this shelter on a per person basis. Is that correct?
Cannon?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think there's some building challenges in terms of how that building is just architected versus the use. So the short answer is yes. I think in an overall sense, there's been a lot of, I think, challenges, and I will channel a colleague that said that I was grousing to the other day about how difficult this all was and all the different voices and everything. And he says, Eric, he goes, I just have to tell you, at least we're in the same room talking about it all in a multi-year sense. That's never been done before. So I'm committed, to do the confidence build, right, and to increasingly give better information as we go forward. But it is a complicated. We have 11 or different funding sources. We have 70 different programs, right, and the mapping that happens in between. And we've been progressively through COVID trying to build out the system and expand it, right, with all its faults and challenges that we've seen as we've gone through. And so there is, I think, this overall funding challenges. The good news is I think we have an 18-month plan as it relates to the finances with your help. But then we have more work to do on the sustainability of the funding.
Well, thank you guys very much. We've got a hard stop here, so I know our folks up in Channel 5 have to reset. So we will adjourn this, but thank you all for being here to present and to attend.